So I guess my mental health story, that component of my life, started very early on when I was young. So I grew up with my mom, my dad, and my younger brother, Frankie. And we had quite a normal life, from the outside. We were very happy, and, I never felt like I didn't get what I needed, very privileged, and it seemed like our family had it all together from the outside. But what a lot of people didn't know is my dad was struggling pretty severely and clinically with depression. I believe, from what I've heard, he started experiencing these symptoms when he was as young as 17 and sort of, grappled with that throughout his life, and it sort of went in hills and valleys. And that's sort of what my mom has told me. And I think when I first tuned into this, I was about 8 years old and my brother was about 4. And just things weren't going well inside the doors of our home. There was a lot of fighting. I started noticing he was very unstable. And it was really difficult to comprehend and understand because he was such a light in so many people's lives. Like, anybody that knew my dad would say he was, like the funniest, most charismatic, happy-go-lucky. He was like one big kid that just always wanted to have fun. And that's how I knew him. That was my idea of my dad. And when I saw him acting in those ways, and when he was really depressed and, couldn't get up and just wasn't living a healthy life, I just couldn't understand how the two could be one person. So it created a lot of confusion for me. And I knew there was something seriously wrong with him. And I think from a very young age, as early as 10, I felt sort of a need to look after him. And him and I spent a lot of time together, and he was like my best friend, when I was young. We were very close, and it was just really difficult sort of seeing him deteriorate. And he got worse and worse within, I'd say by the time I turned 11 and 12, he was not well. And we knew things were as bad as they had been. And ultimately, he couldn't deal with his illness, he couldn't handle it anymore, and he ultimately ended up taking his life. And I wouldn't say that it was a surprise to any of us. It wasn't like this death came out of left field and, just kind of threw us all for a loop and we were all just traumatized in that way. It was sort of like a slow burn to the ending that we thought ultimately might be the ending. So I was 12 when that happened, my brother was 8, and that's basically where my mental health journey began. I was very numb, I would say, for about maybe 4 years. I hardly cried. I didn't know how to digest what had happened to me. I always sort of felt like he was coming back, like this couldn't be my life. With the shame associated with suicide, I felt very uncomfortable talking about it. And we moved 6 months after he passed away. We moved to Toronto, where we had grown up, after being away for 2 years, and I had to start at a new school, and I had to make new friends. And I couldn't talk about what I had been through. I just wasn't there yet, so I sort of buried it. I buried it down really, really hard. I packed that dirt in and I left it down in the ground for a while until I just couldn't anymore. It sort of came out with a vengeance after, being a straight A student and very involved, having a lot of friends, being a relatively healthy kid. By the time I hit grade 10, it was sort of like I didn't care anymore about anything or anyone, really. I couldn't be alone. I was constantly going out, always with someone, couldn't be alone with my thoughts, and couldn't find the passion inside myself to do anything great with my life. I just didn't care enough. And I think that things got worse and worse from there. Throughout high school, I was dealing with a lot, eating disorders. I had really bad insomnia. I was sort of, engaging in unhealthy relationships. I didn't eat healthy, didn't work out. I was not active. I just liked to party on the weekends and ate Michelanas and Chef Boyardee all week, and just, that was sort of me. And one day my body gave out After I graduated from high school, my physical health had deteriorated to the point that doctors told me I had no choice but to completely do a 180 and be as healthy as I possibly could. So I did. I did a 180. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over, I'd say, about 4 years of just shifting not only the people I was surrounding myself with and the activities that I was doing, but also like the way that I related to myself. And I think becoming healthy from the outside in, I focused on my physical health, and as soon as that started to improve, my emotional and my mental health started to heal as well. And that was such a beautiful thing to just like experience firsthand, seeing myself just do this massive shift, and I was really proud of myself. So that's sort of where everything sort of turned around, and I'm still working on that journey every single day. I'm still asking myself, what do I need? What do the people around me need? And I'm trying not to be so hard on myself. After, jumping schools, flip-flopping programs in university for a couple years, I finally landed at George Brown College here in Toronto. And I was older when I went. I think I was about 23 when I went to college. I went there for business marketing, and I showed up there. Not necessarily a healed version of myself, but this new Shan who I felt really comfortable in, this health-focused, more optimistic, positive person that I was so happy I had been able to become. And I wanted a community at my school. And I looked around, didn't see anything or really any initiatives that were bringing people together surrounding mental health. So after about 4 months at school, I started brainstorming, okay, let's do something here. What can we create? And by we, I mean me at the time, because I didn't have anyone else. And I started to realize, okay, let's sort of emulate a support group circle, but let's shy away and stray away from the support group idea. And why can't it just be a place for people to gather and talk about those topics that you don't talk about in the classroom? You don't talk about what you're going through at home in class when you're sitting beside someone and a teacher is giving a lesson. You just don't go there. Those private, deep conversations happen outside of the classroom. They happen in the study rooms. They happen in the library. They happen at Starbucks, after class when you go there with your classmates. And that's what I wanted to bring. I wanted that group support. So I pitched this idea of creating a support group in front of my class. It was a presentation skills class. And I basically explained what I wanted to do, asked if anyone wanted to get involved, and the support and the response was insane. People were responding being like, wait, why doesn't this already exist? Why don't we already have this here? Run by students, for students. And I said, I don't know, but let's make it happen. So finishing class, this beautiful human being, Len, comes up to me after class, says she loves the idea. We instantly connect. Turns out we both lost our dads. We became best friends so quickly, and she's still my best friend until today. So lucky. And we started this community. And we went into it not really knowing what we were gonna learn, take away from it, or how it would change us. And I think we realized very quickly that healing through your mental health journey isn't just about talking about your story to other people and making them understand what you're going through, but it's also holding space for other people that are going through something and being that listening ear. And not to give advice or to correct their issue, but just hold that space. Hold that space, show them that you're listening. And when you learn about other people's stories and what they're going through, it opens up your mind that you're not the only one. There are so many people going through similar things, different things, harder things, easier things. But struggle is just, it's relative. And that's something we learned, nobody's story is more important or less important or harder or less hard than anyone else's. It's just different. So that group, we ran it for about 2.5, 3 years, and it was majorly successful at the school. We never expected that. So that was sort of me solidifying my journey, I think, and we'll see if it turns into anything. If it doesn't, that's okay, because it surpassed our expectations and made me grow just that much more.